Hey, this is Tracy. Before we get to the next episode of the Eating at a Meeting podcast, I have a question for you. Are you ready to make 2021 the year you never say managing dietary needs is challenging? Listen, I know how hard it is to manage the plethora of requests from attendees who say they're pescatarian, gluten-free, dairy-free, allergic to this, allergic to that, or combination of all of those. I've been there and I have helped my clients create more memorable experiences for their attendees. And that's why I'm here to tell you that I've actually created a new online course called Every Meal Matters that I will teach you how to meet all these dietary requests and the legal requirements that go with them so you can create delicious menus for all your attendees without having to pull your hair out. Registration is now open at academy.thrivemeetings.com and the course launches on Monday, January 11th. I hope you'll join me for this new class that will empower you to provide more inclusive food and beverage experiences that help everyone feel valued. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Stuckrath, dietary needs expert, certified meetings manager, certified food protection manager. I have searched the globe to find people and businesses who are creating safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage experiences for their employees, guests, and communities. In each episode, you will find authentic conversations about how food and beverage impacts inclusion, sustainability, culture, community, health, and wellness. I know that sounds like a lot, but we're going to cover it all. Are you ready to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line? If so, let's go. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Eating at a Meeting podcast. I'm Tracy Stuckrath with Thrive Meetings and Events. And at this Eating at a Meeting podcast, we talk about all things food and beverage, from farmers to food service providers to eaters and everybody in between and around. And it's so much fun. I've been having a great time the last 6 months doing this. And I'm very excited to talk to today the CEO of Cornerstone Foodservice Group, Kristine Holtz. I listened to her actually a couple of months ago when she was talking to the NACE team, catering group of professionals, and loved her presentation. And I immediately reached out to her because I wanted to find out more about what she's doing and how she can help our catering partners with serving food and beverage. So Kristine has 25 years of experience in the food service industry and as a former leader at H.J. Heinz, CEO of Market Day, and now the CEO of Cornerstone Foodservice Group, which comprises Spring USA, Lloyd Pans, and After Manufacturing. Kristine has helped develop leading products and solutions across many areas of food service. She works alongside and advises leading brands on their food service operations, which we're going to delve into today, and shares industry insights to help organizations create guest-centered and profitable dining experiences, which is what we're looking for seriously right now. Hi, Kristine.
Hi, Tracy. What a nice introduction. Thank you. And I've been enjoying all of your podcasts. I love the range of topics.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I chatted with a woman today, which everybody get excited. It's centering yourself with chocolate, and we're going to do that in December. Yeah.
I've been that for years.
Yeah, and she's out of London, so I'm so excited to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so food service and events, and people are probably wondering why I have you on here. I mean, but you provide equipment for our catering partners.
We do both equipment and consulting.
Okay.
As part of that package. So if you work with Spring USA, we're going to help you think about how do you serve guests? How did you serve them yesterday? And then how do you serve them tomorrow?
And so let's talk about that actually right now, from yesterday, now, and then tomorrow. How are we going to do that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I share with people is take a deep breath. We're in the middle of a pandemic. It's not always going to be this way, and it's changing every day. Mm-hmm. We have some stats I can share with you that are sort of heartening as we talk a little bit, but it's possible to serve guests today. And with a few modifications, both to your facility and with your staff, you really can get back to serving guests in groups again. In fact, we're seeing some of our clients do it now and others prepare. We just had a stadium come in and buy some induction ranges to prepare for guest services in their suites. Many of our major hotel brands are getting ready to ramp up those breakfast programs again. Some of them are doing them in a modified way, but you can serve guests again safely. And we're finding guests want that. I mean, let's face it, we love to gather,
yes,
eat, and really eating out is a necessity in many cases.
Yeah. And actually, there's a story you shared with me before the show about you traveling with your son.
Yes.
And two different hotel experiences. Share that with the listeners.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I have a 15-year-old son who's a baseball player, and they have been traveling with their team, social distancing, but playing baseball. And we were on a big Zoom call with all the parents, I think 60 of them or something, and deciding where we would put up the teams. And one of the parents said, "Oh, let's stay at this hotel because they have breakfast." So immediately all of the parents said, "Great, let's do that one." Well, you can imagine how the parents felt when the next morning their 15-year-old sons who were going to play baseball all day were handed a brown bag with a muffin and a tiny bottle of water. We all scrambled to McDonald's to feed those fuel tanks and 15-year-old boys for the rest of the day. But let me fast forward to a great experience I had in a hotel. They had made some very simple modifications to their breakfast program. And the boys were served a hot breakfast. And you can bet that's the brand every tournament since we booked all those hotel rooms. And maybe let me just share with you some of those modifications.
Yeah.
Whether you're an event planner, you're a caterer, you're a hotel, you're in college and education, a lot of these things apply. We, of course, work with our clients to customize it to what they do. But what this hotel had done is they had put some just protective barriers over some long tables between two staff members and the guests. They had some social distancing cues on where you should stand, had some notes about wearing a mask. And then they had two properly attired attendants, I would say, with masks and gloves, heated food behind them with lidded shakers, and they safely fed the guests. And I think really what we try to tell people is think about these three things. Food safety, first of all, that's nothing new. Anybody in food service knows how to, we've got to do that, right? Keep cold, hot food hot, separate foods. The second thing is really guest and employee safety, and that's changed a little bit. Sanitation, masks and gloves, knowledge. Knowledge is really important. And then thirdly, and most importantly, is making guests feel safe. And that's really about how you communicate and what they see when they're in your facility, and even before they book an event with your planners. So anyway, this hotel did it right. And earned 60 hotel rooms for the next 6 weeks in their various cities.
That's huge, right now. And, for the hotels, because we see that so many are going to close down because they don't have the business, and the group business is their, for a lot of hotels, that is their main business. It's not the transient, but I think we can apply some of that transient hotel practices to the group business. And and it really starts when the guest is deciding where to go, whether you're a restaurant or an event.
We're saying people are still going to get married. People are still going to have to, are still going to want to gather, whether it's a business event or a social event. So one of the most important things you can do is help people see what an experience would be like if they book an event or facility. And so really work those websites. Make sure you're showing people, what are you doing? What can they expect? Why should they feel safe? But just when the pandemic hit and restaurants were scrambling with what to do and moving to outside dining as a shorter term solution, I think, as we're in the heart of it, I came across something on Facebook that was fed to me, and local restaurant had done a drone showing what their outdoor facility looked like.
That's cool.
They didn't only show me their social distancing and how the tables would be set up, but it was lovely. And it made me want to go there, especially having been cooped up like everybody else for a long time. It was an invitation. And I've heard that they're doing incredibly well in a still very tough market.
That's a great idea. I mean, there was one hotel, I don't remember what it was, but they did a video of you walk into the hotel and this is how the front desk is greeting you. And they all had masks, and they did a demonstration of the chef providing food. It was a little daunting with one person walking up to a table and you just getting a pre-plated plate. But I think there's ways to do it, especially with the equipment that you all provide or, sell, that you can do some buffet style or action station style presentations, and you're not limited.
You sure can. In fact, we just did a survey. We did a survey in May, June, and just updated it. We talked to over 500 people who eat at buffets, both through leisure and travel. 70% of those people, 70, said they would eat at a buffet. So I think as professionals, we're worried about, our customers are on a scale, let's call it of 1 to 10, on how comfortable they feel about at a buffet. We're sort of focused on those that are really concerned, those 8 to 10. Remind everybody that we need to serve guests on the range from 1 to 10.
Yes.
So we shouldn't assume that only those, that maybe feel more concerned or have health concerns that don't want to eat at a buffet should impact how we serve everyone. And there's some simple things you can do. Hand sanitizing stations at both ends. The same. In fact, social distancing, we know now, is one of the most important things we can do. Ensuring that you have clear communication about what the guests should do. One of the things we're recommending from a staff perspective is make sure you're training your staff to handle these issues. What if the guest doesn't want to do what you want? What if they don't know what to do? One of the things I've always said, Tracy, about being in this industry my whole life is I love it because hospitality people are generally hospitable. We get in this industry because we want to serve guests, and that's who we are. And I think with a little training, you can really help your staff be gracious hosts by helping people know what to do, by making sure that they're sanitizing in front of people and wiping down trays. Guests are watching, wiping down tables. But then also, if somebody perhaps doesn't want to follow what you've asked them to do, have your staff trained on what to do. What do they say? When do they get it? How do they escalate?
Right. That's a great point, because there are going to be people who want to get out. They may be dressed in their own PPE completely, but they do want the socialization of being there. They just don't want to touch anything or to, get that close to people. So how can a hotel or catering staff help them? Yes.
Yeah. So have the safety captain, have the signage, have the masking, but then the event itself, if you're serving food, we talked about sanitation, but we've just created a line of portable sneeze guards. I hate that word. We like to call them breath shields, but a portable.
You like to call them what?
We like to call them breath shields.
Okay.
Nicer term than sneeze guard, but the industry term is sneeze guard. Created a line of those, and that allows you to perhaps have a lot of flexibility of how you serve food and where you serve it. There's things that aren't that expensive from an equipment standpoint, like a warming tray where you can put individual portions.
Okay.
In fact, our survey told us that that individual portions make guests feel safe today. And there's a lot of ways to do that and still feed people en masse if you're doing that. But I will tell you, their number one concern on our survey was the same concern that they had pre-COVID, which is food freshness and quality. That was the number one concern about eating at a buffet. Number two was doing so safely.
Wow. And that still goes to show that they want the quality of the food that, nobody wants to eat bad food, right?
Yeah. But it also says they're maybe not as afraid as we think they are. And I think if you present how you can serve food and then you start doing it, I also think people are social animals. And if they see other people, they see good action by the staff and they see other people eating, they will as well.
Right. Yeah. But again, you have to be cognizant of that whole spectrum of people. and how, so do you have a bunch of pre-plated plates in the back that can, accommodate those people who don't want to go through that buffet line?
That's right. That's right. And, maybe you do a guest survey if you're planning an event like a wedding or ahead of time. And this probably touches on what you do, Tracy, is making sure that you understand, does somebody have some extra concerns, either from a dietary perspective or just a perspective? We all have different situations with our own health issues or those in our family or our guests.
Okay, so I have an idea based on that conversation. I'm going to get a sticker off my thing. So I've been chatting about how to make food and beverage experiences fun. And one thing with the plexiglass and the breath?
A sneeze guard. We'll call it a sneeze guard.
Sneeze guard. Okay. Let's have fun. Let's put stickers. This is an adhesive that fits on to glass, right? But you can do these peel and remove stickers on those plexiglass shields, or use dry erase markers and use those so you can brand it and you can have fun with it. I'm all about labeling. So do fun with that sneeze guard with the labeling by writing it there. Make sure you have somebody that has good handwriting, but
Chalkboard menu has to do the sneeze guard. Yeah,
exactly. So, let's have fun with that. One of the questions that I ask everybody, and I really do like your answer, so I'm going to ask you here so you can share it with everybody, but what does a safe, inclusive, and sustainable food and beverage experience look like to you? And you've touched on it briefly, but one thing that I've also seen a lot of too is, pathogens and salmonella. And in a study that I did on one of my presentations is that 71% of the planners had never asked about food safety practices of their catering partners in the past. And to me, that's twofold. It can say, hey, we really trusted them, and that's a great thing to do. But I think COVID has opened their eyes to what food safety is and what it can mean. And so I think we're going to be getting a lot more people on that. So can you just explain again, what your answer for safe and inclusive and sustainable is?
Yeah. Well, and my focus, of course, is how to serve in a post-COVID environment. And when I mean post, I mean now that it's happened. And it's going to continue to evolve, but we're probably in the worst of it. I hope it will continue to get better. But I think that there's really three things, again, that you have to really balance. Employee safety is one of it. In fact, we have a client, a large hotel group, that's come out and said, we're going to have standards for employees, period, because we have to ensure employees are safe. But then we're going to take the guests' feedback and offer them a variety of options.
Okay.
They feel safe. But again, a safe environment to me means that you've got food safety, and you've got guest and employee safety. And I think of three things there: space. So you have the space set up, you have the sanitation plan, and then are you communicating that both to your staff and to your guests? And then, of course, those things that make the guests feel safe. And again, I think that we are seeing people, it depends on what's happening in the municipality, but we're seeing some people return to dining again. And I think that's only going to grow as we know more about the virus and we learn how to handle it. And then people find a way to get comfort in their own way. And we have to help them see that.
Yeah.
Let them see how they're going to be served. I think many people don't know what to ask you. They don't say, I don't know what I want. But I want to feel safe. So that you can do that and how you're sending proactive information out to your guests on your website when they visit, what signage do they see, how are your employees acting? That's what's going to get people coming back again and again.
And that I was chatting with a caterer the other day offline, and it is really about being proactive about it. So I have lists that I've given meeting planners on. These are the food safety questions that you should be asking your catering partners. And some of them are saying, well, what are the answers? So I'm working on that. Excellent. But the thing is the hotel properties need to take those same questions and find the answers and go ahead and, hey, here are the answers to these questions. So you don't even have to ask me. I mean, go ahead and ask me, but I do have the answers. And that means the salesperson should know the answers, the food and beverage director, the banquet captain, the servers, maybe not so much. They should know the basics, but being proactive to sell that. And I love the drone, and LA gave us somebody to do a drone for you, but answer those questions in some unique ways to teach planners and, your guests what you're doing.
Yes. And if you're a caterer and you're doing offsite catering, even if you're welcoming college kids back, layout of what your buffet is going to look like, and have those safety features for your customers. I think I'm a mom of a college kid also. I'm in the business, of course, but if I wasn't, I would have loved it if they would have said, here's how we're going to make sure your son's fed and safely. Here's how we're going to handle the cafeteria. Here's what we're going to do.
Right.
And I think that there are easy answers. They don't have to be incredibly expensive. We do mobile cooking stations, we do mobile serving stations, but we can even help you just modify your current setup in a very simple way with some modest investment to get you to safe serving again.
Now, and I've talked about buffet stations and bars stations, and, to help spread out and I try to use the word physical distancing instead of social distancing, because we are social. But, to limit the number of people in your lines, bars and things, planners are going to have to pay for the staff to staff those extra bars and those extra buffets. But for the property, they can roll, hopefully, well, not hopefully, but you just said the modest cost to add additional buffets and have fun with that. Are you, besides action station kind of an induction burner kind of things, do you have anything that does like the vertical buffets and fun things that can be done that way?
We sure do. And there's a lot of ways to do that physical distancing, as you say. So it can be splitting up your buffet. And be perhaps something as simple as stickers on the floor. We offer those to kind of help people know where to stand. It can be, again, I love the idea of a safety captain that sort of greets guests and graciously directs them on where to go. But yeah, we do all of those things and can customize putting together a buffet for any type of environment, healthcare to a caterer, to help them do that with just some recommendations. We recommend not only the equipment side, but just how do you make all that work?
Right.
We actually published a white paper too that's on our websites at springusa.com. If somebody wants to look at that, we have some different buffet setups that you can look at. While we certainly offer tables and things like that, we can show you how to use some simple banquet tables and modify those as well. Some pictures out there for your customers so that they are not afraid to book with you.
And I think that's kind of really important, because then the meeting planners can then show it to their guests as well, or their attendees, to say, this is, the concept that we have. One event that was held in Savannah a couple of weeks ago, the Georgia Society of Association Executives. I loved one of the things that they did is they put red, white, and blue linens on the tables, and then they put a blue sign or red sign next to one buffet and a red sign. So it directed the people on the red tables to go to this buffet and the ones in the blue. Yeah. And that makes it a little bit fun. And you don't have to look at your name badge. You just have to look at the linen and, to make it a little bit different.
Yeah. And guests want to know what to do. When you're at an event, business or for a party, you don't want to feel like you don't know where to go. Right. Nobody wants to feel awkward. So again, I think it's part of that gracious hosting of guests to really think that through. And then as you're just getting back into this, if you haven't already been doing that, do a dry run with your staff.
Yeah.
Go there. How does this work? Make sure your staff knows what to do. And again, you just need your staff. You have to invest in a little bit of training. And it might just be a meeting.
Right.
Where you're really helping them think about those things. If a guest hands you their phone and says, take my picture, what are you supposed to do?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Do you say no? Do you say yes and sanitize your hands afterwards? What do you, but all the other guests are watching how you're handling it. So
Or you give, this is actually a prime opportunity to get a sponsor of selfie sticks.
There you go.
You know?
I love it.
Yeah, nobody's going to take pictures for you. So here's your selfie stick and use those. Oh my God, I love that idea actually. With the clients that you've been working with, do you have any other best practices that you've seen, that fun ways that they've been doing it?
Yeah. So individually wrapped is very big. Although, again, we think with sanitation at each side of the banquet line, someone's sanitizing their hands and then walking through and hand sanitizing after. And if you don't think the person sanitized well enough, you could sanitize at the end and you're sanitized, that you don't have to do individual portions. But people have been, individual portions are interesting food anyways, very chic. And, a simple warming tray with a warm cookie is a beautiful and easy thing. Focaccia, many things can be served on a warming tray in individual portions. Composed salad, that can be made ahead of time and help you with staffing, and still give people perhaps choices through a buffet line. I think that's a great idea. Sort of mixing what you're preparing ahead of time and what you're offering the guest choice of. People really like choice. And I think part of what you do is ensuring that people have choice too, so that it meets various dietary needs. So I think that's still an important part, but you can mix that up so that you're thinking thoughtfully about staff. And then action stations are huge. Those have not slowed down at all.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's growing. It has not only the theater of cooking, which we all love, right? And why the Food Network's so popular. But it also allows guests to see exactly how their food's being prepared. And it hits both of those two highest check boxes in our service. One, that it's fresh and you can see. And secondly, it's safe because you see the person preparing it for you.
Now, on that note, one of the things with action stations and with what I do is that you need to have multiple areas. You need to have multiple pans or the towels and the aprons, because if somebody's, hey, I'm allergic to shellfish, and you just put fish, in that pan, I need another pan. So thinking about how you can also incorporate that into it as well, with those action stations. Do you have you seen anybody doing plated events, or is it really just kind of maintain that buffet? We're seeing both, like we were before COVID. I would say plated has increased post-COVID or individual servings, but I think that there's no more efficient or economical way to feed guests than a buffet. So that's why I think so many people are thinking about, if it's not now, as that path comes back, how do we get there and be prepared? Because that really is the answer, and guests like it. So again, as long as we can get them there safely, they're going to come back to that. I do want to mention too about your note about different pans, and one thing we've developed post-COVID is a mobile sink that can be put in a room for the staff to be washing their hands in between if they need to. Also, are often used, but in the old days we wouldn't want that seen by our customer. Today we do want it seen. I used to laugh and say, if I saw a bottle of cleaner sitting on a counter, I would be, thinking the item wasn't pulled together. And now I'm happy when I see it. I ordered these really pretty spray bottles. They're glass, and it was to use for essential oils to spray in the wash and all of that, or in the dryer and things like that. But you don't have to use that standard white plastic bottle. You could use something nicer in that presentation out front, but I still want our guests to know that it is sanitizer, because that's true. Yeah, that's very, very true. And having worked at former food and wine festivals as well, those portable hand stations for customers, for the attendees, as well as the chefs, is really important. The health department requires you have, depending on which one you are or what jurisdiction you're in, requires how many hand washing stations per table, or square footage for those chefs to utilize. So
That's
understanding that is really important too. But now we're going I think we're going to have to go back inside with the cold weather coming.
Yeah.
But that makes our rooms much more expansive as well. So, so resources that you had, you mentioned the survey results, right? And that's easily right on the Spring USA website.
We're just publishing those, so they're not up yet, but they will be.
Okay.
Insider peek. They just were delivered. But yeah, we'll have those up.
Okay.
We have our white paper, which really just talks about some of the, this came out, I think maybe May or June. So it's got a lot of information about COVID and some of the best practices, but then some different buffet setups.
Okay.
And a lot of our clients have enjoyed looking at that, and those can be modified. They just start to give you an idea of some different ways to handle it. And, we can work with different numbers of attendants depending on how much staff you have. Is equipment easier for you to implement? Is more staff easier for you to implement? There's a lot of questions to ask, but that can reach a conclusion pretty quickly. And, we're working with clients in healthcare, in cruise lines. I just saw an order for pans come through for one of the cruise lines, and I looked at it as a beacon of hope that they'd be sailing safely again soon.
Right. Yes.
Because I know they won't sail unless they're safe. Hotels, colleges, and universities, just lots of caterers. So a really broad range of customers, which is why on this call I can only give you some generality, but I just want to encourage people. It's not as daunting of a task as you may think. Again, if we show people how to do it, I think if we show the customers how to get it done safely, they're going to come back to our businesses. They want to. They're dying to. Yeah. They really want to.
Well, and LA said it earlier, just training. And I think that has to be from the food service provider side and the planner side and everybody being together in that communication of what's being done. Somebody sent me a food, I've been talking about the food code, and I want people to understand and ask about, hey, what's your health inspection score? But, and we have to, I didn't think contracting is good and putting some clauses to make sure that people are responsible for what they're supposed to be doing. But I think asking a lot of questions and communicating those answers out to everybody is a big solution to all of that.
Sure. And I'm with you on the contract, but I always think of this. So once that's done, you've done across the T's. At the end of the day, as hosts, what we need is for our clients to say, I had a great time.
Yeah.
Whether it's business and I had great food, I had great service. That's what brings people back to your business again and again. And, we know that old adage, and with social media, even more so. When you do it well, they tell people.
Yes.
Do it poorly, they tell people. So our goal has to be an event where everybody has been safe and we get only good press from our clients. Mm-hmm. It has been done in a gracious way. And like food service always has been, we're able to get the work done well, sort of hiding all the nuts and bolts and right. Making it look like it's easy. And again, I think with just a little bit of planning and then that good marketing, it really can be for your clients.
Yeah. And we can have events that are safe and for everybody involved.
That's right.
Yeah.
Both the employees and the guests.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because
the employees have to feel safe. We need to take care of our associates.
Definitely.
Ones are hard to find, don't we?
Yes. And, and when at the very beginning of this whole thing happening and, big conventions were canceling, it wasn't necessarily, my first thought went to all those people, those hourly workers who are behind the scenes producing these events.
Yes.
So just as much as we're not bringing our groups to that property, all of those people that make our experiences so awesome are out of work as well. Yeah. So if we can do it right. Yeah.
Devastating. Happily, we're starting to see some of those numbers recover just a little bit. I think we're near where we need to be for employment. Who knows what will come down the pike as far as assistance or not. But again, I don't think any of us want our world to change. Eating and gathering is too big a part of our life. So again, I think it's sort of a circular reference. We have to market how we're going to do it and make people feel safe so they can come back.
Exactly.
And then we'll get our people working too.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring back our industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So and I loved your question or your answer to this. So I ask all of my guests, what is your favorite food or drink? And I love this. So share with everybody.
My favorite food is anything I can have with champagne.
Okay.
Of course, I think you can have anything with champagne. One of my favorite quotes is Napoleon, who says, "I drink champagne when I win to celebrate, and I drink it when I lose to console myself." That's my answer. And I love to cook, so I can't pick one meal.
Okay. Well, that's good. And I want to throw you another one in there.
Okay.
If you could invite anyone over to dinner, who would that be? Living or dead?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think 6 is a good number for a dinner party. So
okay.
And I would invite Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Isn't she in all of our minds?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
The Pope and my mother.
Okay. Because your mother would be really mad at you that you didn't invite her to meet those people.
Really fun and interesting too. So she'd probably keep the party going.
Those would all be that would be a really cool conversation.
I'd have to think about managing the conversation. What would the seating chart be? I don't know. I'd have to put some thought into that.
Yeah, that's so fun. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for what you're doing to inspire and educate and provide for our industry in getting us back to work and providing safe experiences.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you, Tracy.
Well, thank you.
With you. And we're here to help.
And thank you for that. And I think, meeting planners listening to Kristine, who's a vendor of our catering partners and sees what they're doing, is really valuable insight into what we can look forward to. But, go check out this. I went and Googled it, but this is the Food Service Evolution Guide, the ad for that. And then the survey results will be up soon.
They will.
And let me know when they are, because I would love to share those out.
We will.
Okay.
Tracy, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.